Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll learn what led to the Tiananmen Square massacre and other events in China since then. In the early 1980s, Deng Xiaoping became the paramount leader in China. He instituted some economic reforms that introduced capitalist ideals to the economy. Some of these were the decollectivization of farmlands and the establishment of special economic zones in 14 cities. As a result, foreign businesses and investment were invited. This led to rapid economic growth. However, inflation ensued, causing dissatisfaction among the citizenry. Later in the decade, anti-communist protests in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union sparked hope among the Chinese for political change. People started gathering in multiple cities to demand democracy, free speech, and freedom of the press. The demonstrations commenced in April 1989. These even interfered with a visit from Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev in May 1989. As the protests grew in number throughout China, especially in Beijing, up to tens of thousands of dissidents, the government took drastic measures and declared martial law on May 13, 1989. On the night of June 3rd, the protests were brought to an end when the military opened fire on the protesters, while at the same time, armored vehicles rolled into the square, trampling bystanders and demonstrators alike. In the end, that night, there was a substantial loss of life. Construction on the Three Gorges Dam, a hydroelectric power plant, began in 1994. It is located in southeastern China along the Yangtze River. More than 1 million people had to be relocated during the building process. It became fully operational in 2006, the largest dam and hydroelectric power plant in the world. It was built mainly to control the yearly flooding of the river due to monsoon rains. Other benefits include the high voltage with clean energy, improved navigation across the Yangtze River, and also it serves for the economic development of the area. In 1842, after the First Opium War, the Qing Empire ceded Hong Kong to Britain. Many years later, on December 19, 1984, the Sino-British Joint Declaration was signed. In it, the postulates under which Hong Kong would be returned to China were outlined. One of the fundamentals was that Hong Kong would remain under a one-country, two-systems policy for 50 years. Hong Kong ceased being a British colony on July 1, 1997, when the event known as the Hong Kong handover occurred in a ceremony attended by several representatives from the UK, USA, and China. After this date, the territory became a special administrative region within China. Macau had a similar to the situation to that of Hong Kong. It had been a trading settlement of Portugal since 1557. It was viewed as a rental agreement between Portugal and Ming China. In 1887, the two parties signed the Sino-Portuguese Treaty of Friendship and Commerce. Under this treaty, Macau became a colony of the Portuguese Empire. Then in 1987, Lisbon and Beijing agreed that Macau would become a special administrative region with some autonomy until 2049. Under the postulates of the agreement, Portugal agreed to the handover of Macau back to China in December 20, 1999. Jiang Zemin became the CCP's secretary shortly after the Tiananmen massacre in June 1989, and then became the country's president in March 1993. As a compromise candidate, he initially enjoyed limited power. Jiang wanted to revoke some of Deng's reforms, but was forced to continue with the pro-market line after Deng toured the country south in 1992, which highlighted the People's Republic of China's economic success. During Jiang's tenure in office, the fast economic growth continued, which was helped by the country's entry to the World Trade Organization in December 2001. As a result of this, foreign trade and investment greatly increased. To stabilize political power and prevent personalist rule, which led to the policy failures and excesses under Mao, the party adopted an informal 5-year term limit on top power holders. Hence, once Jiang completed his second presidential term in March 2003, he was succeeded by Hu Jintao. Hu Jintao became president of China in 2002, a position he held until 2012. He continued Jiang Zemin's policies. Thus, China kept its fast pace of economic growth. Under his leadership, China expanded its influence in the developing countries of Africa and Asia, offering discounted loans and other assistance for development projects. Hu pursued a policy of appeasement in both the international and domestic stage. Yet he did not allow for the region's liberalization and expanded the Great Firewall, a system of censorship and control of the internet. Whose major achievement was the successful organization of the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing. This is off topic, but related to the video. A country is granted by the United Nations 12 nautical miles off its coast as territorial waters and 200 nautical miles as exclusive economic zone. Now back to the video. In March 2013, Xi Jinping became the successor to the chairmanship of the CCP. In 2017, he introduced a new era of Chinese politics. Officially, it's called Xi Jinping Thought on Socialism with Chinese characteristics. It is a means to restore the glories of the past dynasties, revitalize China's standing in the world stage, and sets Xi as the father of the Chinese people. This doctrine was incorporated into the preamble of the Constitution. This was to be done in three facets: the nation, the party, and Mr. Xi himself. One of the first accomplishments of President Xi was that, in 2013, he laid claim on two archipelagos in the South China Sea, namely the Paracel and Spratly Islands. This is a means for which China can control the entirety of the South China Sea and consequently access to fishing and gas and oil drilling. By means of the 9-dash line and the construction of military bases and runways on these small islands, he has exerted control of the aforementioned sea. These claims overlap those from Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam, and has become a source of great tension and conflict in the waters of the contested South China Sea. He has also created the Belt and Road Initiative, which is similar to the ancient Silk Road of the Han Empire in the 1st century AD. Its main purpose is to create trade routes that connect Asia, Africa, and Europe via terrestrial and maritime passages. By means of investing in the infrastructure of member countries, economic growth is stimulated and international ties are strengthened. It also serves to revitalize China's standing in the world stage. A total of 138 developing countries across Africa, Asia, and Europe have adhered to this program. Xi has made it clear that the party leads everything and everyone everywhere. It is essential that the leader is able to impose tight discipline on this Leninist party. Xi sees lax discipline under his two predecessors as responsible for the corruption and drift in China's political system. Hence the introduction of an anti-corruption party rectification operation as one of the first initiatives he took after becoming top leader in 2012. The direction Xi has set is to take China into a digital totalitarian era for which the capacity of the supreme leader to use the party to lead every aspect of life in China is indispensable. This requires the party to engage with the people actively in order to convince them that the party's policies are in fact their own. We can see it in full swing in Xi's anti-corruption, anti-poverty, and anti-pollution campaigns, which demonstrate a willingness to go to great lengths to meet higher demands. The new social contract also promises to deliver national pride for China. In return, Xi expects the people to fully embrace the party's leadership. This requires them to actively defend regime security and accept more intrusive control. The former manifested in the passage of state security laws and with it, the revival of the Maoist citizen informant culture for reporting suspected breach of state security. The latter can be seen in the complete ecosystem for mass surveillance that Xi has created, which uses digital technology such as near-ubiquitous facial recognition-enabled CCTV cameras in public spaces to enable precise control. China has had a very long history, with nearly 4,000 years of dynastic rule, with a total of 13 dynasties and 112 years of being a republic. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned because a brief history and geography of Little San Marino is coming up next.